Samoa is a country in the form of a small island. It was a former American colony in the Pacific Ocean. The people of this country are very fond of football. However, because of its poor history in this sport, the national team did not take part in many championships. This country holds the world record for conceding the most goals in history. During the 2001 World Cup pre-qualification match against Australia, this country was defeated with a score of 31-0. It was more like a basketball match score than a soccer match score. 10 years later, this country's football skill was still the same. This country has the most exotic football field in the world, which is located on the edge of a cliff on a beach. However, it didn't make the team's game great. When they played against the neighboring island team, they were still defeated mercilessly. At halftime, Tavita, the team leader, had to provide motivation for them. Even though in their history they have never scored a goal, this time he asked the players to keep trying, unless they wanted their leader's face to be smudged. Therefore, the players were determined to defend their leader's pride. But still, the match ended with them being defeated. Because of that, Tavita's face was covered with pictures of tits because he lost a bet with the leader of his rival team. Tavita began to get angry, and he blamed the coach who he considered incompetent. Tavita was then determined to find his team a new coach. Angry seeing her husband's face dirty, Tavita's wife immediately took the initiative to ask the American Soccer Federation to find a coach for their football team. Tavita, with Daru, his son, were more inclined to look for local people. When the World Cup pre-qualification is almost here, a foreign coach will need more adaptation. However, Tavita's wife was too upset by the picture on her husband's face. At that time, her wishes could not be denied anymore. At the American Soccer Federation office at that time, a coach was about to undergo a trial. He was Thomas Rongen, the United States coach. He was a Dutch immigrant who previously had a long career in MLS. He was on a trial because he just failed to get the American junior team into the World Cup. This was considered not because of a technical problem, but because it was based on by Rongen's attitude, which is considered very bad. He was an emotional person, arrogant, and had difficulty controlling himself. Apart from being fired from his team, Rongen was also threatened with being fired from the federation unless he accepted their offer. This coach was then offered to train the Samoa team. The decision came from the federation administrator, Gail, who was also Rongen's ex-wife. Gail thought that this opportunity was very good for Thomas Rongen. Probably in that place, he could get enlightenment. Instead of being unemployed, Thomas Rongen finally accepted the offer. After that, Thomas Rongen went alone to Samoa Island. Arriving at the airport, he was greeted by a reporter from Who's on the Plane television show. Thomas Rongen's arrival was already known by the media, and the reporter asked why Rongen was willing to train the worst team in the world. Rongen arrogantly answered that he had greater magic than the gods. He would bring miracles to the bad soccer team from this small country. It turned out that the cameraman from this TV show was Tavita, the chairman of the federation. As a small country, they were used to holding multiple positions to fulfill some division of duties. Tavita then brought Rongen's suitcase and took him to the front of the players, who then gave a welcoming dance. Then, with a unique bus, Samoan style, Rongen was escorted by Tavita to the official residence. Slowly, following the rules of Samoa and acting like a tourist guide, Tavita explained about his country, which is located not far from Puerto Rico and has economic potential from tuna fishing and exporting players to the NFL. Not long after, they arrived at the modest house. Here, Tavita has provided a car as facilities for Rongen. Tavita also said that Rongen was free to call 24 hours if he needed something. There was only one demand for this Dutch trainer. The team doesn't need to win or be champion at all. The most important thing was that Samoa's team had to be able to score a goal. And one goal is enough. Rongen started to get used to being in this small place. Even though everything was simple here, this place had an amazing view of the beach. There, Rongen found a fishing boy named Matrix, who he then made his personal assistant. News about the arrival of the soccer team coach was broadcast live on Samoa's national TV. The program reviewed the profile of Thomas Rongen, whose career had been in decline for the past 2 years, and his emotional behavior on the field. The people wondered, is it possible that this coach could save Samoa's team from the next embarrassing moment? At that time, their team was in the world's lowest ranking, just one level below Timor-Leste. The next morning, this team was being trained on how to dive well when Rongen came onto the field. The first opening speech that came out of Rongen's mouth was a statement that all these players had no talent and didn't understand how to play soccer. The first thing that caught his attention was the physical and discipline problem. He immediately ordered the players to run around the field. Then a transgender person came and was greeted by the players who were running. Rongen immediately got angry because on the first day they were not disciplined. Rongen thought that this transgender, Jaya, was a masseuse, but apparently he was one of the team members. For a moment, Rongen couldn't believe it. He thought that Ace, the assistant, was trying to prank him. However, it turned out that Jaya was actually the main striker of this team. Ace then gave information about the team's top players. They were Smiley, who likes to show off his muscles, and Daru, Tavita's son. There was a long-haired player, Sony, who is the son of a fisherman. And finally, Jaya, the Kendall Jenner of the Samoan soccer team. Actually, Jaya's real name is Johnny, but now he doesn't accept being called by that name. Ranjan was still surprised by the presence of a transgender person on the team. Ace then explained that it was part of Samoan culture. In Samoa, a transgender man is called Fafafine, a unique person which they considered very beautiful. Ranjan just agreed with what his assistant said. Ranjan then saw a very potential player, Jana. He ran very fast, but unfortunately his timing was very messy. He kept missing when he wanted to kick the ball. Ranjan saw his team practicing without passion, then he gathered the players and cursed them all with swear words, which then made Jaya laugh. Then Jaya said that football should be fun. Ranjan replied with curse words, then he left the field and told Matrix to take control of the practice. Ranjan chose to go home and stare at his family portraits because he really missed his family. However, his family members did not answer his phone. On the second day, Ranjan started to train the players on how to kick. He trained the players to be able to kick when there's interference from the opponent team. At that time, Jaya was late arriving at the field. Ranjan then punished him for running, and it turned out that he was physically good. Not only that, he also could be very disciplined. Ranjan then continued with other exercises. All of these Samoan were really not good at kicking. Beyond accuracy, all of these people were also bad at feeling and timing. For Ranjan, it felt like he wanted to drink poison instead of having to train these people. Ranjan was increasingly annoyed when he saw Jaya's behavior. He continued to play on his hair. When Jaya was warned and asked to focus, Jaya only responded with a smile. This happened continuously until finally Ranjan called him Johnny. And because of that, Jaya started to react. Ranjan continued to provoke him by calling him Johnny, and this made Jaya forget himself. Jaya pushed and choked his coach. Ace then pulled Jaya away and tried to calm him down. Because the situation was starting to get tense, Ranjan told the players to rest for a while. After the practice, Ranjan then went to a restaurant on the beach. The owner of this restaurant turned out to be Tavita, and the waiter was Jaya. Instead of eating, Ranjan ordered all the alcohol. With the wise words, Tavita gave advice to Ranjan so that he could mingle with the Samoan people. This was so that Ranjan could understand how to control them. Tavita also reminded Ranjan about his target so that his team could score just one goal. On the way home, because Ranjan was driving the car too fast, he was stopped by a patrol police. Even though he looked fierce, this tall and big policeman still spoke politely. This policeman was annoyed with his drink, which made him choke. This policeman then kicked the can and it hit the target in the dustbin. The next day, this policeman was immediately taken by Ranjan into the field. It turned out that Rambo was a former member who had been expelled because he had tried to imprison the players who were playing football in someone's yard. Ranjan then tried to unite the players. He gave them the enthusiasm to fight and invited his team to climb the mountain peak on the other side. The players refused, arguing that their bodies were sore. But Ranjan still insisted. He invited his team to climb the mountain together. The players finally agreed, but then the bell rang. The bell then made everyone sit down and solemnly pray. It is a tradition for Samoan people that at a certain time, a bell will be rung to order everyone to do the prayers. Ranjan, who was already enthusiastic, finally annoyed again. He then complained to Tavita about the matter, and he proposed to take his team to climb up the mountain tomorrow. However, tomorrow was Sunday and everyone in Samoa was prohibited from doing activities. No matter how much Tavita wanted his team to score a goal, he still didn't want to break the tradition. He forbade Ranjan from training on Sundays. Hearing this, Ranjan became increasingly frustrated. He started to get angry again and demean Samoa's culture. However, Tavita didn't get angry. He just saw that Ranjan looked unhappy. It is taboo for Samoans to see other people unhappy, so Tavita allowed Ranjan to leave if that would make him happy. So Thomas Ranjan stated that he resigned from his job. After that, Ranjan reported to Gail that he had resigned. However, Gail insisted that Ranjan retract his statement. She actually sent Ranjan there not just to help Samoa's soccer team, but it's more for the sake of Ranjan himself. Gail then promised to come to Samoa during the pre-qualifying matches, which will be held in the next 2 weeks. The next day, the team members had to train without Ranjan. He was still confused and reluctant to come to the field. And this made Jaya feel guilty. The next day, Jaya came to his coach's house and brought some drinks as an apology. Jaya and Ranjan ended up having a long chat. Jaya stated that he was still legally allowed to join the men's team. Currently, he's trying to increase his testosterone hormone. After that, they continued to watch the video recording of Samoa's team, and it turns out that from the beginning, this team didn't understand about the formation. So far, no coach has ever explained it. From the recording, Ranjan could see the complete performance of Miki Salapu, the goalkeeper whose goal conceded 31 goals. He's not too bad because it turned out that he made many saves. For Jaya, Nicky Salapu is a legend in Samoa. Jaya also said that many of the old players have retired, but there are still some people who can be invited again. Jaya can help to bring back the former players. The first person they met was the legend Nicky Salapu, who now works at a minimarket. Ranjan asked Nicky to talk, but it turns out that Nicky still has the trauma of being the goalkeeper who conceded the most goals in the world. Nicky is still reluctant to be invited back to the Samoa national team. After that, they went to the fish market. Here, they managed to win over a player named Vegas, who looked more like a fencer. Ranjan then returned to the field and started his training. Slowly, he is starting to introduce various formations in football. Now the players are starting to be able to kick penalties. Apart from that, they are continuing to scout. They found a talented person, but he suddenly died when he was hit by a tour bus. Jaya is now starting to be placed as a stopper. His chatty talent is very suitable for directing his colleagues. In order to train Jaya, Ranjan showed a video recording. Finally, they climbed to the top of the mountain together. Ranjan asked the players to jog towards the top to ensure that they were able to perform for 90 minutes. As a result, they became more unified, but the coach himself was gasping for breath. In the end, the players carried him back down together. In 2 days, the pre-qualifying match will be held. The team members took a break and tried to relax themselves. Meanwhile, Nicky Salapu was still confused and couldn't make a decision. The first match would be held in Tonga, a neighboring country in the Pacific, which is still ethnically Samoan. The Samoan people hope that this match will not become the next embarrassing moment. The team went to Tonga by plane and flew for about half an hour. Arriving at Tonga's airport, they immediately went to the inn. The inn was a high school classroom which was transformed into a temporary mess. Their arrival then was welcomed by the home team, who apparently came to bully them. They threatened to defeat Samoa's team with a score of 32-0. However, the players from Samoa were not afraid. They were ready to compete on the field. While the players stayed in the mess, the coach and officials attended a banquet at a hotel. As promised, Gail came to see the progress of the national team, which was handled by Ranjan. At that time, Gail came with Alex Magnuson, her boss at the Federation. After they had small talk for a while, Alex then invited Ranjan to talk privately. Even though Alex heard the progress reported by Thomas Ranjan, he talked about the possibility that they would eliminate the Samoa team from their federation. They considered that this country had no chance, even though Ranjan promised that this time they would succeed in scoring 1 goal. However, Alex didn't believe it, especially if they could win. For him, it was just a lie. The next morning, when the team was doing light training, they got surprising news. Suddenly, Nicky Salapu came as a surprise. At least for the match later, Samoa's goal would be guarded by a real goalkeeper, not by a midfielder who doubles as goalkeeper. In this field, they met again with the Tonga national team, which again and again invited a brawling war. The neighboring team was still determined to beat Samoa. On the day of the match, Tonga National Stadium was already crowded with the presence of the audience. In the dressing room, Ranjan asked the players to stay relaxed. Rather than angrily giving instructions, Ranjan prefers to give motivational words, even though he was caught cheating from a Walt Disney film. Only then did he realize that at that time, Jaya was not with them. Apparently, he was in the bathroom. He took too many hormone boosters to be able to face the match, but that actually made him feel strange and insecure. Seeing this, Ranjan then gave motivation and gave the captain's armband to Jaya. Then Jaya felt better and was willing to go to the field. The two teams entered the field, and according to the Samoa tradition, before the match, they made a movement as if inviting war. All the Samoan were ready in front of their televisions. Some of them were afraid that they would be embarrassed again. The match started, and at the beginning of the match, the Samoan team managed to create opportunities. But after that, Ranjan was provoked and he started to get angry again. When he saw his team members' mistakes, Ranjan definitely shouted at them. Ranjan then continued to change the strategies, and when everything didn't go according to plan, he got angry again. Fortunately, several of the opponent's shots were blocked by Nicky Salapu. So in the end, the Samoan team played awry and started conceding again. The trauma of 31-0 goals immediately appears in front of their eyes. However, they were able to stay at 1-0 until the end of the first half. In the dressing room, Ranjan cursed at his team members. He said that all the players were incompetent, losers, and other weakening words. Started by Tavita, the players finally had the courage to speak. They said that Ranjan had killed their feelings. It is not a Samoan habit to perform under pressure. Ranjan was used to dealing with Americans, so he forgot who the people he was dealt with were now. Ranjan thought all the reasons were nonsense, then he left his team. As usual, Tavita chased Ranjan, tried to persuade this coach. However, Ranjan was too annoyed, and he was too lazy to listen to Tavita. He tried his best, but the players were too bad. Tavita shouted back. He said it was because Ranjan was not mingling with the team. Tavita felt that Ranjan's mind was somewhere else. If Ranjan wanted to lose, it was better for him to lose together with his team. Hearing Tavita's words, Ranjan went back into the dressing room and deleted all the formation formulas and replaced them with a smile. He apologized because he was angry, and then honestly, he said that it was because he still hadn't moved on from losing his daughter 2 years ago. His daughter died in an accident. That's why Ranjan has been grumpy since 2 years ago, which later became the cause of his divorce. That's why he's now telling the players to just be happy and enjoy the match. Don't pay too much attention to him if he looks angry. This time, being able to enjoy football is more important instead of just winning the match. After that, the Samoa team could enter the field feeling free from the burden. Now Ranjan was willing to let go of Gale, who was close to Alex. Instead of making the situation tense, this time Ranjan prefers to sit back and eat chicken thighs. Besides, Jaya now could play more freely and gave motivation to the team members. Rambo saw that Jonah was unguarded. He sent a ball to this fast runner, which finally resulted in a goal for Samoa. Finally, this team was able to score a goal for the first time. All Samoans welcomed the goal happily. The match continued and the score was 1-1. The Tongan team then appeared to put pressure on the Samoan team through their star player, Alice. This time, the Samoan player was not provoked. He patiently waited for the right time, then snatched the ball from the opponent. The counter-attack then occurred. Vegas, the fencing athlete, took a long shot but was blocked by the opponent's goalkeeper. Then it was a corner kick for Samoa. Ranjan ordered Jaya to go into the penalty box. The corner kick was actually unclear but failed to be blocked by the Tongan team. The ball was then headed by Jaya with a beautiful diving style. This team immediately resulted in 2 goals in one match.